How come most people don't ask a lot of questions? Instead, they seem to settle for what they know already. Let me say that again, because when you ponder these things deeply for a week at a time, that means there's little depth to them, or there can be, should we decide to go down that road. We don't always go down the depth road. But how come most people don't ask a lot of questions? Instead, they seem to settle for what they know already.
I'm picturing a Family Feud here, Jack, where we got maybe top 4, top 5 answers for this.
Fire away.
Yeah, you have some answers for this, right?
That's right.
One is they're probably too tired to ask questions. Or that's one. They don't care enough about it to really ask the questions. They're kind of just trying to get through whatever they're trying to get through. They're afraid.
Afraid's good. Afraid's good because that's one of the ones I have down.
Okay, well, it must be. So I got buzz in the first two then. I got the X. Okay, so
No,
okay.
that's kind of a half buzz.
All
so
right. What else you got on there? What do you think?
Okay, they got people like to talk probably 80% of the time, and they listen 20% of the time. They don't like to ask a lot of questions and hone in for several reasons. They're nervous. They're generally not curious. As hard as that is to believe, because I'm very curious, you're very curious, Adam, and you let people talk and you learn a great deal. If you're doing all the talking, you aren't going to learn much. There's a book, I'm Okay, You're Okay. Probably several of you have read that. There's one little takeaway in that book in which when two people are talking, generally speaking, the general population, if they sit down, for example, for an hour and they're talking to each other, after that hour they get up and they leave, there's a net gain of information, useful information, a net gain of useful information totaling just around 1%. In other words, they passed an hour and they didn't really inform each other about something that is focused on, and both could draw some conclusions and debate the things that they didn't know. So that's one. You're afraid of looking stupid, so people don't ask questions. They'll sit there and nod their head, go along with the flow, and they basically should be asking questions to get clarity.
So hold on, let me come back to your point there. So if it's 1%.
1%.
Wow, okay. So that's less than a minute out of an hour.
That's correct. Right. You're walking
so
away with...
You got to be paying attention then, right? Because you might...
you
might have missed it. Or it's easy to get lost, right? Because he's not saying that people gather. It's just that's what's available. A lot of good stories.
I can't wait to start talking.
Right. So there's a lot of good stories. Or there's the one-upsmanship, right? Well, hey, you told this fantastic story. That's all. I got one that's going to beat that story, Jack. Wait to hear this one, right? Okay. No, mine's better. Okay.
You know when you're talking to people how they start to get fidgety and they can't wait to start talking. As soon as you take a breath, they're in there. They run through that gap.
All right. It's really nice weather we've been having lately, right, Jack? Yeah, that kind of who hasn't had one of those conversations at some point today or over the course of the weekend, right? Useless information. Okay.
Well, they never developed habits to listen.
Okay.
And that's important. So that takes a while, because as you leave your high school, as you leave college, you become an adult, you have habits for listening.
Well, there's a whole discussion of active listening, right? People probably heard that phrase before, and the idea there is you have to interrupt people, kind of like I'm doing to you right now. I'm cutting you off a little because I'm trying to make sure I understand what you're trying to say. Versus if I let you go for 5 minutes, I'm going to forget what I was confused about.
How we started, that's right.
Yeah, so it's important to be able to stop somebody and say, hold on, to make sure that I understand. And part of the active listening is to repeat what was just told to you. That's part of what we do with our coaching is we did too much talking early on when we first started doing this 15 years ago. Now we pause and say, wait a minute, what did you just hear me say? And we make them present it back to us, because that way we know that it's getting in there.
So important.
Versus going, uh-oh.
Yeah,
I didn't quite hear you. And you get that kind of sheepish grin, and they're kind of blushing a little bit, going, "Oh, well, I didn't." Can you tell me that again? Okay, right. Well, now you got their attention, right? Okay.
Yeah. So people they're anxious to get off what they know on a subject. They want to form and give their opinions. The person across from them generally is the same way. So who takes time to listen? And listening becomes very powerful, because I can correct you. If I listen to you for an hour, if I'm listening for that hour, I've learned a great deal about you, your opinions on the subject, whatever else you can throw at it. or you've learned nothing from me if I haven't had time to talk. So is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? It's a bad thing not listening. I mean, it really is. But yet most people don't listen well.
Well, I think you'd be amazed what happens a lot. I think I'm a pretty decent listener. That's part of what I do.
Yeah,
but
I would agree with you.
I often get compliments of somebody. Say, that was a great discussion. And often it'll be a half-hour discussion where I said about 5 words, right? And it's directing the conversation, but it's usually to your point, Jack. It's them telling their story or where it might be, but it's really digging into it. And then often people just want to kind of talk through things sometimes. And so if you're listening, that also can be very, very productive and very helpful for folks too.
So how do you like talking to people where you're the only one who's listening? You
Depends on the day.
You generally don't like talking to people like that. Even if they do have a lot to say, that would be almost like a lecture. And how often do you like lectures? It depends on how well it's pulled together and how well it's presented. But if we're just talking basic conversation, which we are here, people don't ask a lot of questions, and they should. That brings the other party into the conversation. It clarifies points. It does all the good kind of things that you can walk away with rather than 1% net gain of information. Hey Adam, I didn't quite understand what you were saying there. What did you mean by this? And so you go back and you rephrase it, and all of a sudden I hear it differently, and then I come back. That's a good conversation.
Well, that's a tough thing to say. I mean, you rolled right off. It's easy for you to say, but to stop and say, I don't understand what you just said.
It's easy, Adam.
Well, wait a minute. That's to me almost goes back to some of the phobias people have, and especially for us men, getting accused of back in the day of not asking for directions. I guarantee a man invented GPS just so they don't have to stop to ask for directions, right? They got it right here. Even when the directions are wrong in the GPS, they still aren't going to ask, right? But the idea of being able to say, I don't understand. That's certainly not, here in the U.S., is not something that's typically encouraged for you to say.
I don't know now. With our new culture that's developed over the last 15 years.
People, again, I see with my son, he's not saying he doesn't understand or he doesn't know. He'll just kind of shut down. Right? He'll say, if I try to challenge stuff, he's not going to engage that way. It's also it's kind of melt down and move on to something else.
13 is a whole different world.
All right.
But yeah, it's so people don't ask a lot of questions, and so how do they advance? Because you and I ask a lot of questions. I know we take it for granted. So how do they advance with knowledge? And that's why I think so many people from, we'll take the political spectrum, can manipulate, and so many people can't get manipulated because they don't know. They learn a body of data, and then so much of it's hearsay and discussion from people that they haven't been listening to,
right.
And asking questions so that they can make sure they understand what's being said. So they're often surprised and they're often disappointed.
I think we're trained in our current society to have that 30-second attention span. So if I hear a sound bite, if I can watch a quick video, if I can see it on some social media site, whatever it might be, it's very quick and to the point. It isn't going to be a deep, thought-out discussion. It's stuff that's kind of being thrown at me. So the need to ask questions, people aren't engaging that way anymore.
Well, we like to encourage it in our business. We always try to take these little how-comes and pull it into a business setting. And if I'm having a meeting with my staff or the employees of the company, I encourage them to ask questions. We get better. We have a much better outcome when questions are asked and points are debated and attempt to be clarified. That takes listening as well as talking.
All right.